wrestling fans, welcome to One Wing Wrestling, where we help you navigate the complex world of pro wrestling, bring you the best matches, world-class wrestlers, and news you can count on. At One Wing Wrestling, we bring the elite to you. I'm your host, Krishna and joining me as always is Mr. Bill Cupbush. Bill, how's it going?
It is going. It is going. It's been another nice. We got that good fall weather stuff going on. Can't believe it's October.
Mm-hmm.
Every human in Toronto is drinking pumpkin spice lattes for some
Not me.
reason. Not
Not
me
me.
either. No. Black coffee all the way. Yes, but hey, we've got a ton to talk about today. And that's what we are going to do. This is our brand new show. This is the one that we've been talking about for weeks. And this is the one where you're going to be able to find the elite worldwide. We're going to bring you some news updates on the elite wrestlers in the world, some of our recommended matches, our wrestlers of the week. Hopefully, we'll do a spotlight on someone, a prospect to watch, a long-standing wrestler, someone like that. But look, I'm really excited about that. But we will get to it soon. How was your week?
It was good. It was the weekend. We had a little long weekend here. It was a funny story. I went to pick up my niece from her school on Friday for the holiday that I had off, and I was wearing my Kenny Omega t-shirt, the one with the big K on it that says "Change the World," obviously. And I'm standing there along with the other parents outside, just waiting for the kids to come out. Obviously, no one had come out yet, and I didn't realize that this teacher had opened the door, and he was standing there, and he looks over and he says, "Hey, man," and I'm like, he's talking to me. He goes, "Hey, are you a Kenny fan?" I'm like, "Omega, yeah, of course." He's like, "He's the best." I'm like, "Damn right, he's the best." He's like, "Nice
Awesome.
t-shirt. He is the best." I'm like, "Oh
Yeah.
wow, the Kenny fans are out there."
They
So
they are they
yeah,
are everywhere.
he
They
made
are
he made
everywhere.
my day, and I was like, "Man, thanks." And he's as we had this conversation in front of all the other parents who had no idea what we were talking about, but I thought that was kind of funny.
That's or at least the ones who are too embarrassed to admit that they watch
Exactly.
pro. I wear it with pride, man. I'm sporting my El Phantasmo shirt today.
Nice.
So
Nice.
yes. You know the ones that were being ripped up on the way to the ring by his opponent. Anyway, and he's like, "What are you doing?" But yes, El Phantasmo, the man who will be in a "Who's Your Daddy" match at the next big New Japan
So
event.
ridiculous.
It really is, but it's so El
Suits
Phantasmo though.
him.
I'm his
Agreed.
daddy. I'm his daddy. Oh, it was great. Anyway, well, we have a lot to get into today.
Mhm.
So why don't we get into it?
Let's do it.
We have some news to talk about. But first up, we want to start with a little bit of sad news.
Mhm.
On the weekend, on Saturday, Antonio Inoki passed away at the age of 79. He was a major figure in Japanese wrestling. He was known internationally. Dave Meltzer actually compared his popularity in Japan as being on the level of Hulk Hogan.
Oh wow.
So, Inoki
Hmm.
started wrestling in 1960, where he formed a tag team with Giant Baba in the Japan Wrestling Association. They did win the NWA International Tag Team Championship 4 times. But the interesting part of that association with Giant Baba was in 1972 because Inoki was fired from the Japan Wrestling Association for planning a takeover of the company. And this wasn't like a plot line, this was in real life. So Inoki went on to found New Japan Pro Wrestling. So he's the
Wow.
founder of NJPW. That's where it came from. His tag partner, Baba, founded All Japan Pro Wrestling that same year, becoming a direct competitor against New Japan. They hated each other in real life.
Oh
They would
wow.
do things like book back and forth guys, they'd bring guys in. Um, have them like for instance Inoki fought to a 60-minute time limit draw. I cannot remember the wrestler he fought against. Fought to a 60-minute time limit draw, and then Giant Baba hired the guy, paid him the most possible money of a wrestler at the time, and then beat him in the best 2 out of 3 falls match. So he was booking himself to go over this guy that Inoki couldn't beat, and they would do this back and forth just to prove a point. But other career highlights. He was also really into mixed martial arts.
Mhm.
In 1976, there was actually a match between himself and Muhammad Ali. The
Oh.
match ended in a draw. He headlined one of the highest attended shows in pro wrestling history in Pyongyang, North Korea. where he was told not to go, but apparently he doesn't listen to people, where he defeated Ric Flair on the second night of a 2-day event. The announced crowd at that time was 190,000 for one night of
Oof.
wrestling. Yep. He retired from professional wrestling in 1998. He continued to run New Japan until 2005 when Ukes bought out Inoki's controlling stock with the company. He was inducted
Ukes, as in the video game company
as
Ukes?
in the video game
Oh,
company Ukes.
okay.
Yes, they ran New
Okay.
Japan after
Interesting.
2005. Yep.
Interesting.
He was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame in 2010. He did have a brief run with the WWE Championship, and I mean very brief. I think it was in the early 80s. He won it off Bob Backlund, and it was controversial and not acknowledged in the WWE record books, but he did hold the championship for a few days.
Interesting.
Yes, he was also active in Japanese politics up until 2019. So, it's a pretty big loss to the wrestling world. Major figure, founder of New Japan, influential all over the place. It's huge.
Yeah, I guess I didn't know much about him until this weekend. I've heard the name, I just didn't know the wrestler, and there were videos, obviously tributes, pouring in on the internet, even on there's a video that I saw people just lining up to get slapped by him.
Yes, yeah, that's
Right?
the Japanese do interesting things because that
Yeah.
goes to a Japanese tradition of spirit transfer, where
Mhm.
his fighting spirit, right, can be
Transfer them.
transferred through hitting it into,
Yeah, and
someone
it was
else.
a huge lineup of people just
Hmm.
waiting, men and women just waiting to get like slapped in the face. So yeah, that's crazy. I didn't know that he actually created New Japan Pro Wrestling. That's actually pretty insane.
Hmm.
So good job. I mean, that's actually that like his legacy lives on, right? I mean, that's what he was going to be known for as well. Um, yeah, I think, yeah, like I didn't realize that he'd fought Ric Flair and all this stuff. And I was thinking about what you said in terms of he had the belt and they don't really acknowledge it. It was probably one of those like those house show things that happens where like they have a show probably when they were in Japan sometime, or he kind of won, or maybe he was in the house show here and then Backlund kind of won it back like a day later kind of thing. Um,
It wasn't a house show. It was a big
Interesting.
event in Japan that he won
Oh
it.
wow.
Yeah.
Kind of weird, but
Yeah.
yeah, no, this is a sad loss for Japanese wrestling. But like, look at all the good things that have come out of it now, right? Look at where New Japan stands and
Hmm.
what he's given to the sport. So yeah, no, that this is quite. I wonder if you know what, I did see the different wrestling outlets posting, a loss
Hmm.
to like the wrestling world, so it was acknowledged by everyone, which is good, which means that there isn't bad blood still for anything, for I don't know
No.
what there would be. But yeah, no, that this was some sad news this weekend.
For sure, for sure. So, our thoughts and prayers go
Condolences.
to his
Yeah.
family, condolences to his family, and yeah, big loss to the wrestling world. We wanted to talk briefly about Hurricane Ian and its impact on
Mm-hmm.
AEW because I
Mm-hmm.
found this very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Apparently, there were some people that we had actually noted. Jake Hager wasn't on the show last week. Swerve Strickland wasn't on the show
Mm-hmm.
last week. Well, the reason they weren't there is because of Hurricane Ian. They weren't able to get there. Their homes were under threat in Florida, etc. And so, they were kind of busy. And Samoa Joe wasn't there as well. Why did I mention Samoa Joe? Well, this is significant because they had actually planned on starting the next tag feud, which was supposed to be Swerve in Our Glory taking on the worst tag team name in history,
War
War
Joe.
Joe.
Sorry.
Tony Khan, why?
I don't know what to say right now. Like, I'm all about Swerve coming back, but
Yes.
really, this is who you're gonna put them up against. I'm glad that
Mm-hmm.
they're still using Swerve and Our Glory as a tag team.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 100% confused as to why are they using two not tag team champions, other champions as a tag team, not defending their belt somewhere. This makes no sense to me. None of this makes
No,
sense.
no, it
Um,
doesn't.
I read or heard somewhere that maybe this might be a way of a unification, because let's be real, the TNT Championship and the TV Championship, who cares, right? So maybe they're going to be a tag team, but end up going up against each other eventually you invited the champions, getting rid of something. You can get rid of both those belts. No one's gonna care. Like, let's be real here. No one's gonna care about that. Like, we care more about Swerve and Lee just fighting these guys. I you know I it's funny, for this show, I went back and I watched a lot of Rampage highlights and stuff like that, and I was like, wow, Rampage has been really good recently, just looking at the highlights from the Rampage shows. And one thing I was going to make mention of, and I'm doing it right now, is, man, the AEW tag team division is awesome. Man, they're awesome. Without random people who don't need to be tag team members being in the division. So Wardlow and Joe, what the hell, man? What is going on there?
Well, this is part of the problem, right? How many? Let's go back to it. You and I have been at this since May, and you and I have been watching AEW since the start. How many times in the older days did you and I say, "Man, what the hell is going on? What's with this booking? What is this?" I mean, we had a few moments, but nothing huge. And it was always like, man, those matches, they're so good. We get that now. We do get really good matches, but there's also an awful lot of us going, what the hell are they doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of that, what the hell are they doing, seems to revolve around stuff that strongly resembles WWE style booking.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Agreed. That's and you're right. Like what the 3-year anniversary show was this Wednesday. Think about that. We've been watching it for 3 years already, right?
Right. Is it any surprise that ticket sales are declining?
No, 100% it's not. And that's the thing. Like, I was listening to that. Like, oh, sorry, I was reading the article, and then other outlets today were talking about the ticket sales declining in the U.S. We'll talk about Canada in a second, but declining in the U.S. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, because if you're, let's say we're in a city where AEW is coming like every other month or something like that, and we're seeing some of the product, I'd be like, okay, I've seen this already. Why am I going to pay again to go and watch the same thing? Right? It's just not interesting to me. That being said, like the hurricane prevented a lot of people from showing up this week, right? But some of the matches we got on Rampage were so good, but things I would not have expected. Again, the tag team match, they're always like the AEW tag team matches, minus Warjo, they're so much fun because you have tag teams who have been tag teams for a long time. Like, who fought this weekend? The tag team champions, right? The Acclaimed versus Private Party and the Butcher and the Blade.
Yep.
These are tag teams that came into AEW as tag teams, right? They weren't put together like that. And I mean, the only outlier here is Swerve and Our Glory. That's the only outlier. Two guys who weren't tag team members, as far as I know, coming in, being joined together, best move by AEW, and are absolutely amazing together, right? Because they're both different types of wrestlers.
Yes.
Right? Whereas Warjo, I see, again, we know Wardlow and his limited amount of moves. Okay, it's not his fault. He's a big guy. He's learning still, right? And you have a really odd combination with him and Joe. Joe's a good wrestler, but not a tag team wrestler.
Yeah, it's very strange. It's like they're both being misused horribly, being put in a tag team. That smacks of creative's got nothing for you. You know, and really that's a travesty because that TNT championship, just a few minutes ago, you said no one would care if the belt was taken away. Let's talk about Brody Lee.
And
right?
and you know what? Cody Rhodes. They were going after that belt like nothing, right?
Exactly. It was a super important championship. The booking has destroyed the championship. They need to book it back to being something important, something valuable, something people want. It is completely invisible now on TV.
Agreed.
No one cares about this championship. Do you know what that reminds me of? The Intercontinental Championship, the US Championship. It's more signs of this horrible feeling that I mean, look, when Meltzer, I was listening to the Wrestling Observer Radio, and Meltzer was talking about the declining ticket sales. His point was that one of the reasons might be the fan base for AEW has changed, right? That the original fans for AEW, guys like you and me, actually, and look what we're doing now. You know, the AEW product hasn't been as good. So what do I want to do now? I want to find great wrestling everywhere, and it's all over the world, right? But really, my impetus for that has been because for a while we had AEW. AEW was this bastion of like indie style wrestling, guys who didn't want to go to the WWE, you know,
Mm-hmm.
guys who are fighting the system. The elite comes out and gives us this, joining with Cody Rhodes and that, and they create AEW. They put on that self-promoted through ROH, you know, the All In does well. They form AEW. You've got this wonderful company with so much buzz around it, fighting the system, right? They bring in all these guys from the indies who are so good that we
Mm-hmm.
haven't been able to see in a ring like this, or guys from TNA that were cast out and things like that. You know, Kazarian, Daniels, you know,
Mm-hmm.
SoCal. And we get them for a while. And then Khan starts to see dollar signs in the talent being released because they fought against NXT. They beat NXT.
Yeah.
So now they're going to rob NXT.
Mm-hmm.
And that started to smack of, and Meltzer pointed this out, TNA booking. Like TNA, when they had this really good AJ Styles, you know, and all those guys that were in TNA at the time, and they began to bring in Hogan, Nash, you know, all of these old WWE guys that were cast out at that point in an effort to try to beef up ratings, bring the eyes to the product. You know what? They've done that in AEW. They brought eyes to the product. But are they the eyes they want to bring to the product? Or is it just eyes coming because it's like, oh, we know these guys, right? Sound like WCW in the late
Yeah.
90s too, hiring
Yeah.
every WWE cast off they could get their hands
And
on.
not giving them anything to do. Yep.
Yep. Not giving them anything to do. The booking goes out the window because you know what we want? We want matches. We
Mm-hmm.
want great stories. I want to see Kenny Omega all the freaking time. I
Yeah.
want to see the Young Bucks all the freaking time, right? I want to see those guys. I want to see
Yeah.
like
Agreed.
the Lucha Brothers. I want to see Private
Mm-hmm.
Party. I want to see like the talent that is just amazing in the ring. And you know, those are the guys I want to see. And now there are some exceptions, as Meltzer pointed out, and I agree with them. There's some John Moxley, big
Yeah.
exception. I
Yeah.
really want him to stay around. He wants to stay around, you know, heart and soul of AEW,
Mm-hmm.
but he's
Mm-hmm.
proven himself.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Jericho is another one. AEW original, been there from day one. Yeah, he's a former WWE guy, but he's a former everything. He's former New Japan. He's
Exactly.
former he's former
Exactly.
like Mexican federations, right? I can't remember. I think he was in CMLL, but I could be completely wrong. Stampede Wrestling. You know, he's done
Everything.
everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, he can do whatever the heck he wants. He's Chris Jericho. But look at the problems they have now with Malachi Black,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, oh, it's a mess. It's a mess.
And you know, part of me kind of feels that it is actually so I do love Dynamite, and to a certain extent Rampage, but they really need to work on Rampage a bit. It's gonna be any better. I'll give it credit for that. But we used to complain that, you know, our WWE had 3 hour show, right? We're like, oh,
Mhm.
it's way too long. But when we watch Dynamite, it moves at such a breakneck speed. Nothing something really actually has time to breathe sometimes, right?
Mhm.
And I always think to myself, if we added an extra hour, could we put more matches on? Could we do more storylines? Could we do more? Because I do have that weird feeling that, you know, because of the 2 hour time slot, there's only so much you can do at a time, right?
Mhm.
But then maybe promote your shows, carry the storylines through Dark, through Elevation, through Rampage, like carry that stuff, right?
Mhm.
And that's being dropped everywhere, right? It's like every week we'll focus on the one thing, on the on or one like three things, and that's where you have like amazing wrestlers like Malachi Black, Buddy Matthews, who are now, you know, obviously for personal reasons taking time off, but get lost in the shuffle, right? Miro, what the heck is he doing right now, right? Like you have all these wrestlers, and you're like, okay, but then if you give these guys screen time, then who you taking away from, right? Look at
Yep.
Jack Evans. He had to leave because they didn't have anything for him to do.
Mhm.
And Helico is somewhere around there, right? Like TH2, amazing tag team that just got broken up and then tossed aside,
Well,
right?
he had a very nothing match on Dark this week.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. Like that's the thing. What's happening like with these guys, right?
Mhm.
And then you have the Butcher and the Blade. That's such a great showing on Friday, but they just randomly show up.
Yeah.
Andrade, he's there sometimes. He was there Friday, right?
Yeah.
Given I must admit, like as much as I say all these some negative things, we do have positives like Roosh coming in with Andrade. Now that's a
Right.
positive,
But
right?
Roosh came in from Ring of Honor.
Exactly. No, but that's not,
He's not a WWE guy.
no. But I mean, but in terms of like just the how big the roster is, right? That like, it doesn't matter where they're coming from now. The roster is just so bloated that we either they really need to open up Ring of Honor and have it that be its own thing, and whoever needs to go to Ring of Honor can go to Ring of Honor. That's fine, right? Maybe they'll have a good product there. But when you have two different things or more into one 2-hour show a week, it's just not going to work, right? And the elite have not been there at all, right? Due to everything's going on. And am I hating the product right now? No. I mean, the matches have been great recently.
If we hated it, we wouldn't be watching it.
Exactly. But we can see warning signs, right? We see them. And we had hoped that the new people Khan brought in were going to help. Now, given they've only been in for what, a month maybe. It's been a month since they've been kind of hired and stuff like that. Like so, like Siobhan, like the new positions. So I'm with it. Give it some time and see what comes out of it. But what we've been seeing, you're right. Recently, it's kind of this is reminiscence of TNA, WCW. Like these are the companies that went up against WWE and failed, right? Like. This is not the old AEW where I'm like, man, yeah, they're the alternative, but they're kicking butt, right? As the alternative, and that scares me. That right there scares me.
Yep. Well, no, it's true, right? I mean, it's the good news is TNA is still around.
They are,
yeah. They never folded. I mean, man, they've been running on some serious life support with like, in the intensive care unit a few times, but they are still around.
True.
Yeah, and AEW, I mean, I think the problem is, and what it really boils down to is it's being run like a business that cares about its revenue. And that's fine. Business is supposed to care about revenue, but that's, I think, how Tony Khan looks at stuff, right?
Yeah.
And that, he might love wrestling, but the bottom line for him is how much money the company makes, right? So a guy like CM Punk is a huge draw. He makes money. He sells merch, right? But when you run a wrestling promotion and your original fan base is the kind of fan base we've described, guys like you and me, guys that want something different from the WWE, love the indie style of wrestling, love wrestling from all over the world, right? We want to see all the different styles. When that's your audience, and you then start to give us pieces of the WWE product simply because you want to make money, right? I got 2 words for that: sellout.
You know what you're describing right now, right? I don't know if you put the pieces together here, but you've literally just described the MCU.
Yes, of course. I've described the MCU and I described Metallica in 1991. Yes.
Yeah. As in, like, this is the time, like we got all the, for example, the MCU, we got all of this material that we're like, wow, we couldn't believe what we were getting. These things, these movies and everything, they're amazing. And then Disney bought them, right? Yes. And now all we get are these shows and these movies that they're just out there to make money. They don't care about storytelling. They don't care about any of that stuff. And that's the same impression I'm getting with AEW now. It's like something has to change, and I don't know if it's because of this TV deal they're trying to get, right? I don't know if that's what it is, but yeah, it's just sad that it hasn't been up to par, and up to par is not bad.
But no, it's still really good wrestling. I mean, we don't want to give you guys the wrong impression. We're not saying, oh, AEW, it sucks. We are merely pointing out there are some warning signs that we are concerned about.
Yeah, and going back to the what we started this with, the ticket sales. Like, think about that. Like they can barely sell out in the US right now. Yet they come to Canada, and they have one show coming up this October. So, well, Dynamite and Rampage.
Yes.
And they decide the venue they're going to use is what the professional hockey team's amateur team uses.
Yes.
That's the venue. It holds 2,000 people. That's the venue they could have easily sold out the ACC or Scotiabank Arena, whatever you want to call it, easily sold that out.
Rogers Center.
Well, yeah, whatever you
Oh
want to
no, it
call
was
it.
never Rogers Center. What
No,
else
no,
was
it's
it? Oh yeah.
Scotiabank Arena.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
easily has sold
Yeah.
that out. But you
Yeah.
chose, and now like fans like us who are like we really really want to go see them. We are looking at buying from resellers at this point,
Mm-hmm.
right? But we're not going to pay like these crazy prices just to go watch the product. We're hey, you know what? Then maybe it's better we just watch it at home, right? Because you know it's not as expensive. So I don't know. A lot of weird things. It's so odd that like this decision Tony Khan goes to like the smallest arena in Toronto, the biggest city in
Mm-hmm.
Canada, but you go into the smallest arena there to promote your wrestling. Like, listen, WWE never doesn't. They do their house shows there,
Mm-hmm.
not their main
Yeah,
shows.
yeah. And keep in mind, Toronto, world wrestling hotbed. Okay. And look, we're not just being whiny Torontonians here, because if you go to Montreal, I really hope he puts up a bigger one as well. If he goes to
Yeah,
Vancouver, I really hope he puts something up as well. You know, like
same.
those places will sell tickets, because if you look at the places recently that have sold well, Seattle sold really well. All right. Toronto, instant sellout. I mean, you and I
Yeah,
couldn't even get anything under $2,000 on the first day the tickets were on
first
sale.
less than less than the yeah
9 minutes.
yeah
And I couldn't
yeah
get a ticket, and all it was resellers. It was
yeah.
just stupid. But I mean, if you guys want to hear my epic rant on that, go back to when the tickets went on sale, end of August.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's ridiculous. There's something seriously wrong with the way they're looking at these things. I mean, Arthur Ashe did really well,
Yeah, of course it
but then
did.
they can't sell out John Moxley in his hometown taking on Hangman Page.
So you're talking about the Cincinnati show, right? Not the show
Yeah.
coming up this week. Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's crazy, right? You'd think Moxley's such a huge draw that they'd be able to sell out, but I don't know. Like that's such a
Mhm.
weird and we looked up ticket prices around that area and
Yeah.
nothing compared to
Oh,
Toronto
not even
prices.
close. I mean, you and I go see AEW. I mean, look, we if we wanted to spend $2,000 on wrestling, we'd like an Airbnb, go see the
Yeah,
show, catch dinner,
exactly.
rent a car to go down there, whatever, right? I mean, you and I could go down there on way less money than it would cost us to buy the tickets in
And sit
Toronto.
probably front row to watch AEW.
Yeah, exactly. It's ridiculous, right? So yeah, we should really do that.
We should.
I know. So some more positive news.
Supposed to be a positive show, right? So
Yeah,
negative.
I know we're so
Jeez.
negative today. Here's some air. You're gonna like this one. Takeshita. He is gone from DDT for 2.5 months.
Ooh.
Do you know where he's going? Back to the US.
Yay!
Kind of sad for me. I love that match he had with Higuchi last week. That was amazing wrestling.
He is such a good wrestler. Like young, talented. I can't believe he's in his 20s. That blows my mind. Like how good this guy is. And he's like ahead of his years, and the way he carries himself in the ring, you could tell he's professional, right? Like he will fall, like he'll take a loss to whomever. Like that Hangman Page versus Takeshita. Oh my god, that was a good match, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you watch his other matches, you're like, okay, that like he's just a great talent altogether. So I'm glad he's coming back to the US. I don't know where he's gonna be. Like I guess they haven't announced that, right?
Well, he might be on New Japan Strong. That'd be a great place for him. AEW.
Maybe he shows up back in AEW, which is always great. But yeah, no, I'm happy to have Takeshita back. Takeshita is fantastic.
Yep. Yes, he is. He really is. As any of you listened last week, you know he was in one of my 3 selected matches. So an interesting anniversary today. Our last little piece of news. The ladder match had its how many years is that? 50-year anniversary this month. Well, September anyway. So we're 2 days late. Okay, whatever. But it was born. Do you know where the ladder match was born?
The ladder match was born 50 years ago. I have no clue.
Stampede Wrestling.
Oh.
Yes, it was invented in Calgary by a man named Dan Crawford. He came up with the concept and sold Stu Hart on it. Stu Hart was booking Stampede Wrestling at the time, and the first ladder match took place in September 1972 at the Victoria Pavilion in Calgary, with Crawford wrestling Tora Kamada for a bag of money hung above the ring. And do you know who else grew up in Stampede Wrestling?
That'd be Chris Jericho, or would that
Bret
be Kenny?
Hart.
Bret Hart. Oh my
Bret
goodness.
Hart wrestled a number of ladder matches in Calgary and then sold Vince McMahon on the idea in the WWF. The
Okay.
ladder match is a Canadian invention brought
Okay.
to the WWF by Bret Hart.
Okay.
So
Okay.
there you go. That
Yeah.
anniversary happened this year.
That's pretty awesome. That is pretty cool. 50 years ladder match. Like, I look at ladder matches now, and obviously the big ladder match that everyone talks about is the Razor Ramon. Was it Shawn Michaels? Razor Ramon versus Shawn Michaels ladder match? Was that the one? I
Yeah,
can't
sure,
remember.
whatever. Was it the Lucha
Yeah.
Brothers versus Young Bucks? No.
It definitely wasn't Lucha Brothers versus the Young Bucks, because that was the first time I ever saw a Canadian destroyer from a ladder into table. So yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. So yeah, no, I am that's great. Like I would never have guessed ladder matches came from like we really do give Canadian wrestling, and we don't give them as much credit as we should, right?
Mm-hmm.
And look at the product we've gotten from Canadian wrestling, right? So we probably should be giving them more acknowledgement than we have. But that's
I'm repping with my
El
shirt. El
Phantasmo. I
Phantasmo.
didn't even know he was Canadian. Like him, Ethan Page, Kenny Omega, Bret Hart, Chris Jericho. Like the list just goes on. Christian Cage, Ed. Like it just keeps going and going. Like wow, like Canadian wrestlers. Who would have thought, that
Yep.
Canada would have produced such great wrestlers? But
Yep.
hey, Bret Hart and Stu Hart in the dungeon and everything like that. I'm
100.
not surprised.
Yep. You got it. Well, now speaking of all these great matches, it is time for our recommended matches of the week. So, but before we start that, guess the stars. It is
Okay.
time for Krishna to guess some stars. So you heard my selections last week, right?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. So there were two matches that I mentioned last week that Meltzer has now given his stars for. One of them was Will Ospreay taking on David Finlay. And you know how much I loved that match last week. It was my match of the week. What do you think Meltzer gave that match?
Well, after you described it, I'm going to say he gave it 5 stars.
You're close. 4.75.
Oh.
Here's what he said about it. It was his match of the week last week, too. And Will Ospreay was also his competitor of the week. I would like to point out that didn't come out till recently, so he's just copying me. He said, quote, "This was the best match Finlay ever had. And as the saying goes, for Ospreay, it was just Sunday."
That's funny.
It is. It's pretty great.
Funny.
Okay. And the other one was Takeshita versus Higuchi, which was my number 3 match last week. The one where they ended by both passing out in the ring with Higuchi falling on top of Takeshita for the pin.
I'm going to say he gave that one 4.25.
You're close, 4.5.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
He also said that was a great match. So there you go. If you needed more reason to go check out my recommendations for last week, there you go. But since I started us off last week, Krishna, why don't you tell us what your recommended matches are this week?
So from so my recommended matches for this week we're talking minus Dynamite, right?
Minus Dynamite, yeah.
Okay, minus
we do Dynamite on Wednesdays.
Yeah.
They can go listen to how much we liked it there.
Fair enough. Okay, so I actually have 2 matches that I actually really enjoyed watching. One was really fun, and it's even though it didn't have my tag team in it, it was still fun. And that was the actual tag team match through the 3-way tag team match between the Acclaimed, Butcher and Blade, and Private Party. What it reminded me of is that, for one, AEW has the best tag team division, hands down, bar none. There's no one can challenge, and I'm not even gonna argue it with anyone for that. 2, the tag team moves. When a tag team has been together, as long as these guys have been together, like each tag team respectively, they have their moves and they're so fluid. My God, like they just everything is just flows. There's no botches, nothing. Like there was one botch I thought like that was kind of weird, but I don't even think it was a botch. It was just kind of like the Butcher kind of throwing I think it was like Kassidy up in the air, and he kind of landed on Blade's knee. I'm like, that
Oh
kind
no,
of looked really.
that was
That's their
yeah,
move,
no,
right?
it was a legit
Yeah,
move. It just,
yeah.
you're right, it looked kind of
It
funny
looked
from the
weird,
angle he
right?
threw him
Okay.
on, but I mean, my God, what they were
Yeah,
doing with that move was pretty cool. Like throwing him
yeah,
through the air to have him land on his gut on the guy's knee, it was pretty
yeah.
great.
And look, the Acclaimed retained, and they didn't have to cheat to do it.
Because they weren't facing Swerve and Glory.
Exactly. Same regard. But I highly recommend this match because you know what? It was just so much fun. So much
Mhm.
fun. That's one of my matches.
Yep.
The
No,
second match,
I would agree with on that one, by the way. It's not one of my
sweet,
recommended
sweet.
matches, but I would say it's definitely on my what I would call it, on my honorable mention list. But
Got
yeah,
it.
no,
Got
I
it.
agree with what you're talking about. That was a really solid
It's
match.
just
I
it's
enjoyed watching
fun.
it. It was
Yeah.
definitely one of the highlights on Rampage. So
Yes.
yeah, absolutely.
And I was going back and forth. There was two matches that I thought, which one should I add? And I'm gonna add Roosh versus John Silver. Um, this match, like my God, when Roosh hits you, I feel like he's trying to kill you, right? And there were points where I thought he was hitting John Silver really hard. John Silver was blocking some of them,
Hmm.
but man, like these guys can go. Roosh has been one of the best pickups for me that AEW's done in a while. And John Silver, when John Silver does his like little burst of energy where he starts kicking and he does all that crazy
Yeah.
stuff, great. Am I really big on the ending? Not so much the ending. I could do without the interference stuff like that, but I get what it was building for. And I'm gonna say this right now. Check out this match, but I'm gonna predict right now, Monday before Wednesday, that the match of the night for Wednesday is going to be the match of the night is going to be Roosh versus Hangman Page. That is going to be such an amazing match. So if you have a chance, go watch Roosh versus John Silver.
Yeah, that I've got to agree with you. That match almost made my list too. And you know what stopped me? It was exactly what you mentioned, the ending. And do you know why that ending really bugged me? It was the second ending in a row that was exactly like that. The women's match before it had the exact same finish.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, are you kidding me? You just gave me the exact same finish 2 matches in a row. Someone goes up
Yeah.
and interferes and then allows the other person to hit their stuff. I'm like, wow, lazy booking. You can't get a match recommendation from me on lazy booking. But up until that finish, you're right. This match was
Mhm.
outstanding. I was like, oh man, these guys are going to get, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
darn, because
Yeah.
I'm a big story guy, right? The story's got to be there, and I get where they're going with this, but I didn't like the booking at the end. It bugged me enough. I'm like, I've got better matches than this for
Mhm.
this week. So yeah, no, solid match, and you're right. I am also going to predict right now, Hangman taking on Roosh, match of the night.
Yep.
Yep.
Agreed.
So, my match recommendations this week, I've got three. I will go through them fairly quickly. We have the first one comes from Dark Elevation. I don't know if you caught it this week, but Dante Martin took on Anthony Henry. And this was part of an ongoing feud between the War Horsemen and Top Flight.
Mhm.
And Dante Martin's mustache is terrible and he needs to shave. Um, I really liked the opening of this match. They went back and forth quite a bit. I mean, Henry's really good, and Dante Martin is amazing. So we all know Dante Martin. You and I go on about him all the time. There was a point where Henry pulled Martin out of the ring onto his shoulders and back suplexes him onto the apron. It was nuts. Um, Henry does like a block on a sunset flip. Like I've never seen anyone block a sunset
Mhm.
flip and then into like this painful arm stomp and tied him up into an arm snap from a hammer lock.
Yeah.
I saw this move twice this week, once by Henry, and it just looks like it kills. The only thing I'd have to say is Dante Martin still needs to work on his selling.
Yep. Yep.
He gets better very quickly. There was a fight forever chant during this match too. What I didn't like about his selling was the announcers took pains to indicate how that hurt arm was going to affect him doing springboards,
Mhm.
and then he was just springboarding all over the place with no effort whatsoever. Like it never stopped him from a springboard once. So um Henry doing like a shoulder capture, a Northern Light suplex, brainbuster. It's like, but then Dante won with the nosedive with the springboard slam. Man, this match, I loved it. It was Dante Martin fighting a guy that could go toe to toe with him, and it was such a good match. And it's two guys that you almost never see on Dynamite or Rampage. I mean, we see the occasional Dante Martin match, but seeing the two of them here, I mean, all the respect to Anthony Henry. He gave Dante Martin a hell of a run in this match, and it was really good stuff. So, and sadly hidden on Elevation. My second match came from New Japan Strong this week, where we had TJP taking on Fred Rosser for the Strong Openweight title. TJP, of course, repping the United Empire, and is one of the current junior tag team champions, IWGP junior tag team champions. And Fred Rosser, do you know who Fred Rosser is?
Fred Rosser. I don't recognize the name.
Darren Young.
Oh,
Yes.
from Thing. Yeah. I know
Yes.
Darren. Yeah.
Fred Rosser is the
Okay.
strong openweight champion in New Japan Strong at the LA Dojo right now.
Yeah.
And man, he has bulked up. He looks different. He's got such a intensity and attitude to him now. The guy, I mean, okay, so TJP is very good, great grappler, fast. He's a high flyer. He's really well rounded. He does one of the wickedest looking tarantulas I've ever seen. He got Rosser locked up in one, and it was just nuts. TJP was the other guy who did the one arm hammer lock into a snap, and just man, but Rosser actually sold the arm really well. Rosser wrestles like this hard hitting style. You can tell he's been training with New Japan, right? Like his forearms and stuff, they just look like they're killing you. But the finishing sequence in this match was nuts, right? Like TJP is just he's one of those quick guys who can also mat wrestle. It's
Okay.
nuts.
Yeah.
And he set up a tornado DDT for a splash, missed the splash completely, but then he countered Rosser's fireman carry into this submission hold. Like he got him into, it was hard to even see exactly what he was doing, but it was this stretch that got him down to the ground. Then he moved it around into this Border City style stretch submission. But when Rosser tried to get to the rope, TJP pulled him back. Rosser reversed it into a
Oh my
chicken wing
God.
STF. TJP got to the ropes, hit him with his Mamba splash. Rosser kicked out, but then like a double knee to the stomach, sidewinder slam, and a chicken wing STF, and TJP tapped out. But man, that chicken wing STF looks really painful, way better than John Cena's. Clearly, it's a message to his former tag team partner.
I know. I was gonna say, like, it's funny because TJP on NXT was like that really odd
Mhm.
character, like kind of gaming character, right? That's what he
Mhm.
was, but like I've heard really good things about him in New Japan. So
Mhm.
I'm not shocked. He's part of United Empire. What is it?
Yep.
You're right.
Yes,
Right.
he
Okay.
is.
So
Yeah.
obviously, hey, when you're with Will Ospreay, you're already cool, right? I mean, so I'm not shocked that this match was one of your recommendations, and also. Well, I'm not shocked that one of Dante Martin's matches, like Dante Martin matches are just highlight reels, right?
Yep.
So I'm not shocked about that either. So yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I like the fact that you took two matches that were not on the main AEW shows. That's
Oh,
great.
I've got another one for you too.
Oh, you know what? Before I continue, sure, give me your last one.
Okay, I'm cheating on this one because it actually
Okay.
happened the week before last, but I didn't get a chance to watch it till this week. Suzu Suzuki taking on the Starlight Kid at the Stardom Showcase, Stardom and Showcase.
Hmm.
It was a 5-star Grand Prix match from the Blue Stars division. That sounds like a lot of words strung together. All you need to know right now is the 5-star Grand Prix is Stardom's version of the G1.
Got it.
Okay.
Got it.
Suzu Suzuki and the Starlight Kid. Holy crap, what a match. The story went a few minutes in was Starlight Kid working over Suzu Suzuki's knee.
Hmm.
Wicked submissions, like these stretch mufflers that just looked like they were gonna kill her. I mean, when they went at it with their forearm shots and stuff, these were not it was crazy. Starlight Kid focusing on the knee. It was just, I loved this match, right? There were so many good slams and moves, and it was nuts. Like it started off a little slow, but once it picked up, it was just nuts. These women killed each other. Suzuki did like an avalanche German off of the top rope, but kept her legs on the rope, like where she can hang
Hmm.
herself back, pulled herself up. But when she finally got herself up to jump, Starlight Kid flips her off with an avalanche arm drag, right? And there was this spinning side rotation slam into a 2 count by Suzuki. Just an incredible, I can't even describe it. Like, I don't know what this move is called, but she picks her up by the arm and the other leg and does this 360 rotation slam into a 2. It just, wow. Um, Her Northern Lights roll through, where she actually does a Northern Light suplex and doesn't just do like the kind of, shift aside and pick them up. She rolls through the person. and then does a second Northern Lights and got her for a 3 count. It was a really good match. It was about 20 minutes long, and just, man, this is amazing women's wrestling. This was amazing wrestling. Never mind, it was 2 women. There are men out there who could not put on this match at
Yep.
all. It was
Yep.
phenomenal. It was like, I just watched this on a whim. I'm like, yeah, I'll just check a couple of these Stardom matches from and I'm like, this is my match of the week. I
Awesome.
mean, there's the segue, but I
Awesome.
mean, yeah, those were my 3 matches. Those were my 3 matches, and that the Stardom match was nuts.
No, that's cool. As I said, all alternative matches from different yeah, some of them are AEW, but like regardless, that's awesome. Like I mean, just showing you that there is so much good wrestling out there, and that's what we're trying to do, right? Because let's say someone's listening right now and you're watching WWE and things are stale and you're seeing the same things over again, the same people wrestling each other. There are so many different wrestling promotions out there right now. Just try one. Like, just take a look, and there are recommendations. Go online, find these matches, tell us what you think. Right? I mean, like, I bet you your mindset on wrestling will change once you check these things out. Like, I guarantee it.
100%. You couldn't be more right. And it's like, we would love to hear what people think of our recommendations, right? So
Mhm.
you guys want to go out, watch these matches, find them. They're not all that hard to find. You can find them by all kinds of means. You know, watch them. Let us know what you thought of them. Let us know if we're on the right track. Tell us what you thought was a
Wrong.
better
Yeah. Yeah.
match.
Yeah.
By all means, let us know. We would absolutely love to find out what you all think of these matches. So, yeah, those were the 3 matches of the week. And I guess we can now move on to what our actual match of the week, which also includes Dynamite, was this week. I've already given mine away. It was, in fact, the Suzu Suzuki versus Starlight Kid match from the September 25th Stardom and Showcase.
Yeah. My match of the week. That all the matches I've seen. Oh man, I originally, again, minus Dynamite.
Oh, no, you can
Well,
pick
actually
Dynamite for the
include
match of the
Dynamite.
week.
I was
Yeah.
actually thinking about giving it to Jericho versus I remember his name now.
Bandito.
Bandito, because it was
Mhm.
a great showing by Bandito. It was really, it was fun. Like, I've never seen, but there was something about, and regardless of the way it ended, and I know I mentioned this, I didn't like the way it ended, but the match itself between John Silver and Roosh, I just thought it was such a fantastic match that it beat out everything from Dynamite, it beat out everything from Rampage, stuff like that. And it was so good to see. Like, I again, last weekend I was like, they're gonna show not Lee Moriarty. It's gonna be Darby Allin versus why am I mixing up his name? Jay Lethal. I was gonna know Jay
Yep.
White for a second there. We're gonna get Jay Lethal versus Darby Allin this week. A match I never thought I wanted to see, but I'm very interested in seeing.
Mhm.
I never thought I wanted to see, I would want to see Roosh versus John Silver. What an odd match to have, but what a great match. Like,
Yeah.
I can't even say how good this match was. Like, it was just from the beginning, just the hard hitting. Like,
Mhm.
these guys look like they're killing each other in that ring, right?
Yep.
And just the word I'm looking for, the explosiveness of this match. Holy crap.
Yep.
When these guys get going, they get going. So if you have a chance, like, please check out, it's on YouTube. I mean, they have the abbreviated version of the match, but if you can find the full version, do yourself a favor and watch that match,
Mhm.
and you'll understand why Bill and I are calling for Hangman Page versus Roosh to be the match of the week, probably
Oh,
this
yeah.
week.
Yeah, and the thing too about that match was the personalities in it,
Yeah.
right? I mean, John Silver doing the lie down in the ring, and it's just like
Yeah.
getting under the skin of them, and just it's John Silver conveys such a good personality, and I did like I think it was JR calling out that he does a little too much of that pausing after he does some stuff, and that's
Mm-hmm.
where his downfall is, and he's not
Mm-hmm.
wrong.
Nope.
So yeah, I liked the match. It had a reason to happen. So that's always good too. Yeah, you're right. This was a really good match up until the ending.
Up in the ending.
But I guess I can forgive them for that because they put on such a good match. So yes, I would also recommend checking this match out.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it, go watch it because
It's
you'll also get, like Krishna said, a good preview Now,
Mm-hmm.
my match of the week was Suzu Suzuki taking on Starlight Kid. Again, I don't have much more to say about this match other than the fact, I mean, mentioning beginnings and storytellings, there was some really great spots where these two women just went at each other and tried to
Yeah.
one up each other with slaps and hits and kind of like trapping arms and fate, like where they they would each trap each other's arms under them like, while kneeling on them and just keep slapping their face back and forth like with one hand. It's like
Mhm.
WWE used to do those terrible cat fights. This was like properly done wrestling, right? It's like the
Yeah.
person's kneeling on the person's arms and then just starts slapping their face on both sides, right? Starlight Kid wears a mask, so it kind of takes a little bit away from that. But yeah, it was just such a good match. People should check this one out for sure. And you can see what a really good women's division looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Because wow, was that good. So that brings us to our next segment, which is who was your wrestler of the week?
My wrestler of the week, even though I gave the match to John Silver and Rouge because they're awesome. I'm still gonna call my wrestler of the week Bandito. He's still gonna be my wrestler of the week. And yes, it is because I've now discovered who Bandito is. But I thought that his showing was fantastic against Jericho. Like, yeah, we knew he wasn't gonna win, but that wasn't why he was there. He was there to show who Bandito was, and we know Bandito is now signed to Ring of Honor, or there are people are saying he is signed to AEW, which is technically signed to Ring of Honor. Same thing, I guess, right? But yeah, I'm giving wrestler of the week to Bandito, who I thought was a lot older than he was. I looked him up. I'm like, oh, Bandito, this is an older wrestler, right? Nope, this guy is super
Nope.
super young.
Yep.
And he is, yeah, from what I saw, is he's great. He's absolutely great, and I actually do hope he's signed to AEW because this would be a great addition to AEW.
Yes, and you'd be able to check him out as well, fighting down in Mexico.
Hmm.
And he was almost my wrestler of the week too. So
Uh-oh.
good choice. I loved his match with Jericho. He's right up our alley.
Hmm.
Fast, high flying, precise, just amazing wrestler. So good in the ring. His match with Jericho was really good. My wrestler of the week was Suzu Suzuki after
Oh,
watching
okay.
that match.
Okay.
I mean, her whole personality shines when she comes to the ring. She's a free agent too, by the way. She's not signed to Stardom. Her and this group lost their contracts, or their
Mhm.
contracts expired with I think it's Ice Princess Wrestling or something like that.
So
It's
Ice
Japanese
Princess
names for
Wrestling.
stuff are always hilarious. So yes, Ice Princess Wrestling. Um but they don't have contracts with them anymore. So their whole faction was just free agents. So she went and she's been wrestling in this tournament, their G1 style tournament, right? But she's still a free agent. But I mean, she's quite young still.
Mm.
She's only been wrestling since 2018, but she's got like a really good attitude. She presents herself really well, and my God, can this woman wrestle? So yeah, my wrestler of the week. She really impressed me with some of her really innovative moves, her ability to sell. She still needs work. She's young, but I mean, just amazing this week. I'd like to point out, though, one of the problems with picking all the matches this week was we had Royal Quest 2 take place on October 1st in England. There were two nights, October 1st and 2nd. Now, that was a New Japan event, which also included Will Ospreay,
Mm-hmm.
but it was not being carried anywhere. It was not available on TV and will be posted on New Japan World at a later time. Once it is posted, you can guarantee I will be watching it. And that's the week that I will include the Royal Quest matches. So if any of you are wondering, why aren't they even talking about Royal Quest? One, I've avoided all spoilers for it. And two, because it's currently not even up on New Japan World.
No.
So I can't watch it. But
Royal
anyway,
Quest 2, right?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I pulled up because New Japan on their YouTube channel, they post 6 days ago, they posted the New Japan Capital Collision
Hmm.
from I think this year, I think it is. But they posted the entire pay-per-view on
Yes.
YouTube. right? So this is the one where Juice Robinson, I think, beats John Moxley by pinning Will Ospreay. And I saw the Royal Quest 2 promo, and I was like, what is this? And I realized it was actually this past weekend.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. FTR will be defending their belts.
Okay, so speaking of that, I think Will Ospreay posted about that.
Don't tell me the results.
No, not the results. But he said, listen, like apparently the pop, everyone was singing, or was it FDR posted like everyone was singing their theme song as they walked to the ring, and I was like, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, I'm excited for that.
Exactly. We have one more segment to lead us out, and what we will do occasionally is we're going to do a prospects profile, because we're also about trying to see who is coming up, who should we keep an eye on, whose matches do we want to be checking out when they happen. I got a suggestion for you this week, and you are familiar with the name.
Okay.
Kevin Knight, 25 years old. Do you remember him?
Kevin Knight.
What if I told you he's part of the New Japan LA dojo?
Was he one of the guys that were fighting in that like 4-man, 5-man tag team thing?
Yes.
That was okay. Yes.
At Forbidden Door. Yes. He was in the match against Max Caster in the Gun Club. He started in 2019. He's been on AEW Dark twice in January, trading wins and losses with the Factory. He's wrestled in a number of indies in the Pacific Coast area. He's also known as Jet Knight. So I've seen him a few times now. And what has stuck up, and he was on New Japan Strong this week again, too, in a tag team match. What sticks out to me every time, that the match he was in was good. It was going long. I'm like, okay, yeah, this is a good match. I'm enjoying this. He got in the ring, and it was like the match went to another level. It was just his speed.
Yeah.
The guy is so fast. He's so athletic. He's so quick. His moves are so good. And he's only been wrestling for 3 years.
Oh my God.
25 years old and in the New Japan LA dojo. The man is phenomenal. Like, I can't say enough good things about this guy. Now, yeah, he's still a kid. He's still learning. He's still one of the young lions there. No problem. This is a guy, though, that I'm going to be watching closely, because I think he's got a hell of a future ahead of him. He's very, very good. So if you ever see his name come up on Dark Elevation, anywhere like that, watch the match, because you're in for a treat.
Keep your eye on him. He's a good prospect. Yep.
Yeah, and I will be definitely keeping an eye on him in New Japan. New Japan Strong, by the way, everybody, happens every Saturday night here in North America. So there it is, a weekly show. It's only 1 hour long. Check it out. It is some quality wrestling. They only had 3 matches on it for the hour last time. So including the TJP versus Fred Rosser match. So
okay.
Yep. Good stuff. Well, it looks like that brings us to the end of our first edition of our new Monday wrestling show, where we keep up with the elite, essentially.
Yeah, no, this is a good show. I think as we said before many times, that our Wednesday show seemed a bit bloated because there was so much to talk about. Now that we've refocused, this gives us a chance to like focus on some of these indie events and wrestlers and the actual news that's happening, and give some time to breathe. And that way Wednesday we can just focus on the Dynamite preview and review at the same time. So yeah, no, I think this was a good show.
Yeah, no, I love talking about wrestling, and I really love talking about good matches, where to find them. Like, that love that I experienced when I started to find stuff like this in my wrestling world, that's what I want to give everybody else. I want all of you to experience the same way that Krishna and I feel every time we watch this good stuff from around the world.
Yeah, agreed. As we said, like, our love for wrestling dwindled a bit. Like, at least mine dwindled a bit, where I was watching on and off some wrestling shows of that until we were brought AEW and the Elite. And ever since that, my love for wrestling has skyrocketed again. And yeah, right now I'm just again waiting for the Elite to get back. I'm just waiting for them to come back.
Telling you about these guys.
And little did I know that one day I was going to watch this guy named Kenny Omega, and he was going to be the greatest wrestler that I'd ever seen in my lifetime.
Tried to get you to
Um,
watch Wrestle Kingdom 2016. No, no, not interested.
and yeah, and that's it. Like, I mean, like these guys have changed my perspective in wrestling. It's not only a you know, it doesn't have to be one way, right?
Mhm.
And they've shown me the athleticism in it, and what people can actually do in the ring. And yeah, and you know what, their personalities, that's what I love. Personalities
Mhm.
in and out of the ring, right? You know what you're getting with these guys. And that's what I really enjoy as well, that you can actually relate to a lot of these wrestlers, and it's just awesome.
They
It's
feel
just
like they
awesome.
have integrity. That's,
It's
because
true.
that's what I look for.
Yeah.
That's what I look for. I want integrity in my product. I don't want a guy who's like selling out. I don't want a guy who's just gonna do whatever the hell creative tells him to do. I want a
Yeah.
guy who cares about the product that he puts on week in and week out. I don't mind a Chris Jericho where he can reinvent himself, but he
Mm-hmm.
knows entertaining. But look at the guy, keeps himself in shape. He's older than
Yep.
me, and he's still going like that. So you know what? That I respect it. Guys like, Brian Danielson, just masters of their craft,
Yep.
masters of their craft. John Moxley bleeds wrestling.
Yeah.
Guys like that. Give me guys like that. Give me guys like Will Ospreay. Give me guys like, let's go back to it. A guy like Antonio Inoki, that man bled wrestling. All right.
Wrestling. Agreed.
So, yep. And I've got, a couple matches this week that I can safely say, thank you, Antonio Inoki.
Teninoki. Yep.
Yep.
That's very true.
Yep. And I think on that note, we are going to leave you for now. And as the great one always says, goodbye, everybody, and good night. Bang.
Good night, everyone.